With every dam, bar one, down to less than 10% capacity, the Murray-Darling system is facing a rough summer. There's no doubt about that. For me, though, the slightly unsettling aspect of the media coverage to date has been the focus on environmental flows and fish kills. Now, no one wants to see footage of dead fish, and we all want the rivers to flow free. But we also want food on our tables and our farmers to thrive. That means taking water out of the river for agriculture, and that inevitably will mean less water for the environment. But given that Australia has always been a land of drought and flooding rains, even 100% environmental flows would still leave rivers dry part of the time. And of course, 100% environmental flows in the Murray-Darling Basin would mean little or no farming and a massive cut to Australia's agricultural output. For me, the big problem is not so much fish kills, but farmers who can't plant or harvest a crop and graziers who can't keep their stock alive. I grew up in the Mallee, an area of Victoria where water is like liquid gold. My family originally settled there in 1874 and have seen drought, fire, Armageddon like dust storms, locust and mice plagues, long before the left tried to lecture us all on climate change. As a child, we even had to cart our drinking water off and on. So when I see footage like this, it's real. It breaks my heart, even today.
Personally would like David to do something else. Sorry. Sorry about that. You're all right. Yeah, look, it's pretty tough here, and you know, if Dave decided he wanted to do something else, I wouldn't be disappointed.
What's happening in the Murray-Darling water system right now means a dreadful time for farmers like this man, Gary Farrell, and critically, for the towns and communities where the jobs of so many others depend on a rural economy. If it goes on long enough, we're all hit, because ultimately, when farmers do it tough, even the bigger cities start to suffer through higher food prices and small operators being driven out of business. Amidst all the lamentations of the environmental disaster and more muted concerns for farmers, there's not nearly enough attention given to the only way to improve this: building more dams so that there can be more water for farmers and for the environment. Australia doesn't have a water problem, we have a water management problem. And it's largely a problem we've created for ourselves because modern Australia has a problem with dams that early Australians, early settlers did not. Without them, those dams, we'd probably never have even settled half the regional areas we have today. Yet it's our dam phobia that's putting all that we have now and our communities in the bush at risk. Every time it rains heavily, many multiples of Sydney Harbour flow uselessly out to sea. So where are the dams to harvest this water and save regional towns and farmers? Well, it's all tied up in the religion of environmentalism. That's where, because the last thing the climate cult will allow, preaching a climate emergency as they do, are more dams, even though it's the only way to tackle the consequences they claim to care about. For the rest of us, of course, protecting the environment is important, but so too is the well-being of people like the farmer you just saw, reduced to tears after generations on the land. Since 2014, the federal government has had at least $500 million on the table for new dams. But under the influence of climate zealots, the states have mostly just dithered. In all of this, our greatest environmentalists are our farmers, and unless we start to back them up with policy out of Canberra and every state government, it doesn't matter how many ordinary people buy a bale or put money in the tin to help towns decimated by drought, we'll lose our farmers off the land. And let me tell you, once they're gone forever. Contemplate in the cities for a moment what this country would look like without our rural communities. With food shortages, beef imported from overseas, milk from places like China, and the heavy lifting that agriculture has always done missing from our national balance sheet. Forget the scare campaign of the climate emergency. The real crisis is the state of water policy in this country. There's no bigger issue for the Prime Minister than this.